man?
What's up,
Can
Andy?
you hear me
man.
okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, dude, I'm great. Yeah, I'm fine.
Of course.
Good. Yeah, I just did the chat raid because I wanted to send the chat over to somebody, and you were live, so glad you got the raid, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate the raid. We've actually had pretty decent retention. So
Well, yeah, a lot of guys were probably there from the Smith crowd. Probably want to see what you guys are all about, which is good.
Yeah, we've had a couple of them make some interesting comments, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, it's fine when you have paradigm shifting debates. That's the way it's going to go.
Sure, absolutely.
So let them cope and let them seethe.
That's
and let them be mad.
Well, apparently I'm the one coping because I was a little taken aback. I actually was trying to be very soft-handed this time because I feel like that the last few times that you've called, allowed me to call in, I've come in a little too hot, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, because I watched a couple of the streams back. I'm like, you know what, I just come in too hot, and I shouldn't do that. So I was trying to change up my my approach. I thought it was very calm and I was very reasoned.
Dude, it was great, actually, bro. Dave Smith fucking insulted this guy, and he didn't even answer the question. So
what? Ultimately, so what? Right? Let it roll off. Like Dave,
where I'm at. I'm
like Dave said. Dave said, "Let it roll off." Right? He's like, maybe I should have let it roll off. He should have. But the thing is he was in a highly contentious debate. So giving credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
When you're in a contentious debate, when you're running the crucible, it's a hard thing to run, right?
And
you are running the crucible.
Andrew, you pressured this guy. Andrew, you put this guy in the corner so badly, and I was commenting during your chat. It was so bad. I was surprised because I was thinking that Dave Smith was going to give you more of a competition in that debate.
I think everybody was. I was.
Well, here's the thing. I was thinking that Dave was going to put you in the corner.
Why? Why would you think that?
I was thinking Dave was more smarter than that because he's a little bit more. He's not a lefty, Andrew. I was thinking that maybe he would have.
No, he's a good guy. He just has to examine some of the presuppositions.
Yeah.
And the thing is that most people don't. They're never challenged on that, and so they end up in kind of this corner where they can't really tell you what it is that they think.
Right.
And if they do, that's why I said in my opening statement, just be honest about what it is you actually think here.
Yeah.
It's not fun. I know that cognitive dissonance sucks. It's not fun to deal with. You know what I mean? But let's really move into, ultimately what it is that you mean by this idea of self-ownership. And I think the debate ended hopefully with his idea of self-ownership, maybe hopefully fleeing his brain. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Could be. Anson Knowles says Dave with the W. Andrew,
that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Like, I mean, what are they gonna say? Dave with the L?
Right. I think a couple of them admitted it early on. I think they were like, yeah, that could have gone better for Dave.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is I did ask if he wanted to have a conversation or a debate. He said, I'm fine with either. And I said, well, let's do a debate. So I came in to do a debate. You know what I mean? That was what I came in to do. So I did a debate.
And Andrew, you were savage. That's the thing. Because obviously with the conversation, you would have been a little bit more leeway with it. That wasn't the case here.
I still felt like I was really charitable. I tried to get his worldview out there, especially the last half of the debate. I was like, go ahead and attack my positions. We'll get these all fleshed out. We'll see if there's a case use distinction. But really in the last half, we just ended up agreeing on most things. It's the first half where we have these kind of pinnacle disagreements, which show the difference between Christian ethics and libertarian ethics. And what Kaz, when he called in, what he was trying to explain is this distinction, this case use distinction. We can't use libertarianism as a moral ought. So should we use libertarianism as just a foundation of what is? And the problem is throughout that whole debate is, Mr. Smith agreed with me on what is, but not what ought be. And that's where the delineation hit and where we had kind of these key points of contention. But ultimately, it was a fun ass debate. You know what I mean? I enjoy doing those, and I enjoy kind of the slugfest and the overarching battle. But to be completely fair to Dave's position, a lot of what I was saying, he didn't actually understand because he's never been put to those questions.
Exactly. And dude, you did the debate prep. Dude, there was no real any really debate prep that you had to do with Dave Smith, because there's no real debates that Dave had that you can actually examine. Because dude, you have like hundreds of videos that you can establish on yourself. But Dave doesn't.
Well, what's
really
funny
have
is in the beginning, there really was no satire. I was trying to show that ultimately all of your oughts come from where I do. God tells you, right?
Yes.
We'll make it simple and easy. God tells you, right, Dave? Yeah, God tells me. And it's like, well, then what's the mockery then, right?
Yeah.
What's the mockery?
Yeah.
Well, the mockery is that it doesn't sound good to say that, right? It doesn't sound good to say it's divine command, but you can really grant an opponent most of their worldview. It's not really necessary to fight with it and kind of meet them where they're at. I didn't have any doubt at all that when I said, oh, well, it's just God talks to me in my brain, which is a way big oversimplification and
of course,
in some ways a bit of nonsense. But ultimately, that's what he ended up saying too, right? God influences my intuition through my mind. And it's like, well, then we're on the same page ultimately.
Right.
So all we have to do from here is just kind of get you out of this idea that you own you. And as we look at history, we can see clearly that you don't own you. So
now,
where do we get?
Yeah, Andrew, during that debate, do you see that he was kind of he wasn't alluding to the religious aspect of things. He was trying to kind of resort to the libertarian or like the aspect of reality outside of religion. But even when you put it on the religious aspect, Dave Smith actually kind of conceded to a lot of the points that you were making.
He conceded to all of them. The thing is that his issuance with big government is the same issue we would all have, that it can become corrupted. Yes, right. Most certainly. That it can do horrible things with its power. Yeah, we've seen that multiple times.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when we reduce it down, he's asking for the same thing that I am. And if he is asking for the same thing I am, he has to kind of reject this idea of self-ownership, because he would be willing to tread over the self-ownership principle to enforce morality. That's where the real distinction comes in.
Yeah, definitely. And that's crazy because Dave Smith was more of like he's a libertarian. I don't know if he's a Christian. He claims that way, but it's not to the same degree as you. Obviously, would you describe yourself as a Christian nationalist? That's something that I've heard in the back burner of things.
Let's say Christian populist.
Christian populist. Okay. But nevertheless, this guy was kind of pushing on to the aspect that libertarianism, it's do what you want, kind of like Satanism. It's like do as thy will. And
well, no, this is that's a great conflict is how do we rationalize do as thou wilt with divine command?
Yes.
So even like some of the people in the chat go, what about taxes? You waffle? No, I didn't waffle on taxes either.
Yeah.
I just wanted him to draw a quick parallel so I understood which two things he's comparing between duties and rights. So do you have a right to not be taxed, or do you have a duty to be taxed? And so that's where I drew the parallel of conscription. And he was like, well, maybe there is some duty there. And so, well, if that's true, there could be some duties in these other avenues too. But he would get really frustrated by kind of diving into that second layer, right? That second level, the second layer of where we can get into which things are duties, which things are not duties.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Like the government should not be, it is stealing. I like how you brought it up that it's stealing to give like welfare, like to the single mommy funds from the state. Because, you know, Andrew, let's face it, like we pay our taxes for road work, you know, to have our public.
Yeah, I'm not sure that if we were to sparse out what are duties and what aren't, that you have no duty to the commonality or the common good. I'm not sure that would be the case. But I am sure that you don't have a duty to people who have just immutable characteristics, and so you must support them. That I'm most certainly sure we don't have a duty to do.
But would it in like I guess like more of a Christian nationalist, and it'll be a patriarchal one at that. So wouldn't the responsibility of like that mother that's a single mom, wouldn't the duty be onto either her father or her ex-husband still to maintain like the provision aspect, not the government? Or so if they got
Yeah, I mean,
divorced, would it fall back onto the father?
the thing is that it could be. So we're going to have to match what is the case in the system with how that would match with our duties as Christians. So our duties could slightly have variance depending on what the system, which is intact, says you can or can't do. So it has to be some form of consequence in there for us to make a judgment of duties as well. But
because
on the
I
other
understand,
hand,
like
there are some moral imperatives that we can't get around. So
like I understand paying the taxes for like the roads and the parks because that's public use. Now, unless these single moms that are on welfare are going to become public use, which we're not doing, I mean, then they shouldn't get the tax money.
I see my friend Just Another Canadian's trolling me pretty good on the pineapple thing. That's
dude,
fair.
that guy is fucking dope as fuck. I love Just Another Canadian. Great guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy.
No, he is.
But
he has some
I do enjoy his trolling. You know.
Yeah, he's being very funny tonight.
Yeah.
So Andrew,
so I mean the question, it's harder to get into this question again. This is why I was trying to bring it back to the presupposition of what are duties and what are rights. So do we have an actual duty to pay taxes? We may. I'm willing to concede also we may not, but I need it demonstrated one way or the other. I'm not willing to just concede on this point because there could be some higher moral duty, just like with conscription, where, yeah, I think maybe you do have to do this thing.
Well, I think we have a duty to, like, if we want the government to protect our borders, right? Then we have a duty, kind of like a HOA, like to pay
that we have to fund that, right? We have to fund that as citizens, right? Or show out as citizens or something like this. So, I mean, this is kind of getting to the greater point. Weren't able to touch on all those. I'm sure in follow-up conversations we'll be able to.
Yeah.
So Andrew, where I was kind of going with the failed republic thing was to try and understand kind of what he felt like it should be replaced with, and that would lead me back to that it would either end up being a monarchy, or it would just be another system where we vote for our officials again, and both, either one of those two things would have to happen, and we would be right back where we are now. And I also
I'm not sure that he would disagree. I mean, so Dave has a nuanced approach. So once he decided, let's move into a more nuanced approach, I'm happy with that too, right? We can definitely get into the nuance of, you know, how this system works and how we might end up back in here. But I really thought that ultimately we couldn't get past the original precept of this idea of self-ownership, which is what I really wanted to get into, and did. I did effectively get into it. But the idea of, is that true? Do we really own ourselves? And ultimately, Dave owned himself on that by essentially saying, no, we don't.
Yeah.
It is a social construction. It's not true. We don't really own ourselves, but we do act as though we do. And so we should kind of generate our rights based on that. And that's particularly frustrating to me because that's a worldview collapsing argument. And I just could not get him to understand that this already collapses the worldview. We haven't been able to, like, you just need to admit that this is worldview collapsing here. You know what I mean? But it's frustrating to do. So he's like, why do you keep coming back to this? And it's like, well, because it kind of need a concession that, you know, you kind of got to concede on this.
Somebody's got to be right. Somebody's got to be wrong. You know?
Or both of us have to be wrong. Right. So that's the thing. We could both be wrong. I'm willing to concede that that's true.
But Andrew,
I'm not willing to concede that you're correct if you haven't given me any justifiable argument other than, well, God talks to me, which, if that's the case, why scoff at me?
Andrew, when are you going to debate Ben Shapiro? Because I think he's a pretty good debater, at least back in the day. When are we going to see that matchup?
I doubt you're ever going to see it. Yeah, I don't think that that's probably going to happen. But the thing is like, you never can tell how these things will go. We have some huge debates lined up.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think that future conversations with Dave Smith will be far more fruitful from both of our angles when they become more conversational and less adversarial.
Yeah.
But I do think that this first one needed to be adversarial. I think, you need to know really where it is I'm coming from, and I need to know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I think that probably the first 50 minutes of the debate, the guy did very poorly. But then once he was able to calm down and kind of reorient himself, he was able to make his points a bit better. And I thought he did much better in that second part than in the first part.
Sure.
When he went offensive rather than defensive, though ultimately it became circular and kind of moved back to my points anyway.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. Like I don't get an opportunity as much as I'd like. You can lose points in debates and win points in debates. I definitely won far more points than he did in that debate. But I thought he was a good interlocutor and it was a good fight.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy, right?
Dude, it
like
was
ultimately that's what I like, right? Let's do it.
Andrew, it was so entertaining. That debate was probably the best debate you've probably had in recent times. I'm not gonna lie, but I'll tell you this, Andrew, you do need to debate a little bit more. Well, if you can, at least, because you're a rising star, bro. There's no doubt about it. You are on the rising star to fucking have the voice of people like myself. And I would say this, bro. When are you gonna have some type of interaction with like in the Daily Wire? I know Pearl is in there. If you can get
well, listen, I'm just going to tell you so that you know. Let's assume for a second that I had a ton of that shit planned. I would not announce it here on this program, and it's not because I wouldn't love to announce it on Grid1 Motorsports program.
right.
It's because there's tons of people who would love to throw a monkey wrench between myself and those interactions.
Of course.
And so I'm always very cautious about when I announce them and how I announce them. So I'm not willing to confirm or deny such a thing is happening.
Andrew, you are a rising star. You're gonna fucking dude. Honestly, if you had a fucking debate with fucking Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson, you can match up to these guys, and you are a rising star. And I'm just saying, like, I want to see it. I'm very eager to see these things because.
But why do you think that you're not going to?
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. The debate that you didn't see.
These guys are scared of Andrew Wilson because they know that Andrew Wilson will call them out, even though they're conservatives. But the nitty gritty of what they're fucking preaching, Andrew will fucking call them out and preach, or at least like call out their worldviews to a particular degree. Andrew, am I more or less in the ballpark of that? And I'm just saying, like, Andrew, you are on the right. You are preaching a great message, but at the end of the day, like, to a degree, I kind of feel like the right is kind of afraid of you, as well as the left. Left is definitely afraid of you, but to a degree, is the right afraid of you? Is Ben Shapiro and these right wing guys?
The question is Ben Shapiro really on the right?
Well, he claims he is, but I'm just saying.
I mean, I could claim that I'm black. That doesn't necessarily make me black, right?
Yeah. I think the thing that's interesting is that I'm not sure that I would say fear as much as gain.
I think
so.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, Andrew.
Look at what is gainful versus what is not gainful.
Yeah.
The thing is that in many ways I'm a poison pill to the progressive right, to the progressive right. Yeah,
that's the thing. You're not good for business. This is why they won't.
No. That's the thing. That's the distinction. I'm great for business.
He's great for business,
but I'm bad. I'm bad for your brand.
Yeah,
because my business is making sure that your fucking brand is wrong if it is wrong. So the thing is that there's an intermediate message here to be had, and the thing is that it may never be that I'm able to engage with these guys in that sort of blood sport like I was just able to do with Dave Smith,
right,
or Lauren Chen. But we'll definitely be able to have conversations where I can get them on the ropes so that we can see what they're really about.
Well,
it all just kind of depends. The thing is that the Crucible is not a platform which can be ignored.
Yeah,
and so the thing is eventually you have to contend with the views. But I don't do the bait for debate. I don't go, oh, you're a coward. When are you going to face me? I don't do any of that. Because we don't need to. You know, in this case, Jacob vouched for me. Good guy, Jacob.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, do the debate. I think that you'll end up with a pal as contentious as it'll be." And I think Dave did. I think he ended up like I came away with a bit of respect for the guy. I don't believe that the guy was a piece of shit. And I do think that ultimately he has kind of similar goals in mind to mine, and that eventually we can bring him around. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
think you guys have like more you guys agree upon than disagree upon. But Angie, I still have connections with the producer for Michael Knowles. Like we still message each other even
Sure.
after the whole Pearl thing. So I mean, I could always throw that out there if you haven't already got that in the works.
Glenn,
I don't
make
have
that
to.
happen. Glenn, make that happen. We need fucking Andrew Wilson against Michael Knowles.
Jake,
We need
I
that.
said if Andrew doesn't already have that
Okay.
going.
Well,
bud.
here's the other thing for you guys
I
to
like
keep
all
in
this.
mind is that my preference, honestly, is not to brutalize leftists. Or rightists. It's to brutalize leftists.
Right.
Yeah.
And Knowles, he probably shares like 90% of my mentality.
Yeah.
And so it would be 10 times more helpful. I'm just looking for the seltzer. It would be oh sorry. Yeah, Coke Zero is
You
fine.
guys would be good
So
at it.
it would be even be better to team up on the side of Knowles in order to kind
I
of
would
duke
like
it
to
out with
see
the
that.
leftist progressives. But the
Yeah.
thing is with Dave Smith, I feel like he has, well, I don't feel like, I mean, logically, I think that he has a lot of the same progressive principle of the live and let live. And so that's worth tangling on the ideology. Whereas with a guy like Michael Knowles, I'm not sure that it's worth brutalizing the 7% we disagree with rather than, assisting in the assault on the degenerates. I think would be a far better action.
Yeah.
I
agree
same
with
thing
that.
with Trent Horn. When we discuss things, we disagree about a lot, but I just really fucking hate the leftists, dude. I just really fucking hate them. And it's like, there's so many potential allies here to continue with the attack that I feel like over time, like with Brian, they'll begin to adapt a better mentality anyway.
Right.
So who cares?
Andrew, what's your take on Jordan Peterson? Jordan Peterson came into the Daily Wire. He kind of adjusted, and he's a guy that says, I live my life as if God exists. What's your take on Jordan Peterson? Because I've never heard you actually acknowledge that. Just out of curiosity.
I think Jordan Peterson ultimately does not only believe in God, but believes 100% in the Christian faith.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that ultimately, Mr. Peterson, he has this kind of duality where he's an infiltrator and he knows it. And he knows that as an infiltrator, he can do more good than he can, he can do more good that way.
Yeah.
So if he can keep his intellectual, I guess you can say, brand high, where he's not acknowledging that this is true, but at the same time acknowledging the results of it are better, that he can be more effective in that category.
Well, yeah.
And in some ways, I feel bad for the guy because I think he wants to say, "Yes, I'm a Christ follower, of course."
Right.
Of course.
As soon as he goes out with that brand and says, like, "Yes, I believe in Christ," then his arguments get dismissed as okay. It's just
I just get the feeling that if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm across from Peterson, we're having some drinks, and I'm like, "Come on, Christ is your savior." He would say, "Of course he is."
Okay,
but
I think so.
inside of this realm, I need to at least keep up the pretense of the distance, which I think is a bad move, but I at least understand the model of infiltration. It at least makes sense to me.
Right.
Yeah, because it allows him to get into conversations and present the argument in a way that's not confrontational or people are willing to accept because he gives off the at least the appearance of an intellectual, that he's willing to think about it and not like he's basing it on his ideology.
Now, Glenn,
well, you have to understand within many academic circles, the idea that you believe in religion at all completely and totally ostracizes you from the rest of whatever that academic community is.
Right.
So they can just use that to dismiss you. Yeah. So my question with Peterson always is kind of the same. Is this strategic 3D chess where Peterson, who is a smart guy, is looking at the overall picture and saying, listen, I can be an effective force for good here while I worship Christ and say that nothing but Christian ethics are good and they're fantastic and that's the way we should go, without actually ever acknowledging this publicly, but never denying it either, so that the
It's
intellectuals
fascinating.
have to take me seriously. I think ultimately, I think that there might be a lot of that going on. Of course, I can't prove it, you know what I
Right.
mean? But I'm sure
But
when I get to know
I think the
Peterson, I
same
will be
thing.
able to.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the exact same thing. I've always thought that the way Jordan Peterson talks is very much the way a godly man talks. And some of the things he said, I'm always like, you know what? I get it. He's behind the Iron Curtain, right? It's like there are things that you just can't say. He was already, I mean, he basically lost his professorship, right?
Yeah.
So
Real
he was
quick.
very
Well,
fortunate.
I mean,
to,
the thing is, in the realm of politics and in the realm of power dynamics, and then in the realm of Christianity, if we're trying to strike some kind of accord for real change that moves the population towards Christianity, Peterson's not doing a terrible job there.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so if we look at you shall know them by their fruits,
Right.
his fruits are pretty good,
Yeah,
right?
I
His
agree with
fruits
that.
are pretty
I like
good.
that.
Andrew.
So then the question becomes like, is he striking that? I don't know.
Right.
Is it just happenstance? I don't know.
Yeah, Andrew, I have another question. I'm sorry I'm asking a lot of them, but I have another question. So obviously, like when Andrew Tate came in, there was a criticism about Jordan Peterson crying on camera. Like he sobbed several times on camera. When it comes to like sobbing on camera, and Jordan Peterson is a guy that has a lot of influence, would you say that's a positive aspect to young men that because at the end of the day, he's kind of like a father figure to a lot of
No, but I need you to understand that this guy has had so much political pressure put on him.
is that an
And
excuse
so
though,
much.
Andrew, is that an excuse?
Well, no, I
though?
don't. Well, yeah, but maybe it's a good, valid excuse. Like, listen, imagine for a second that you have worked your whole life to just be some kind of like professor in a university.
Okay.
And that's where you are. You're a professor in this university.
Right.
And you end up with this kind of groundbreaking fame across the board where old lectures you had up on YouTube suddenly became massively popular because you just happened to be one of the first guys who said no and had a camera in your face. And now suddenly you're in the limelight and everybody is around you and you're getting thousands upon thousands. And I know how this feels of DMs saying, hey, can you help me with this? Can you guide me on this point? Can you do this? And he's like, this is an immense responsibility that I'm just not prepared to deal with.
Yeah.
It's an immense responsibility I'm not prepared to deal with. I'm just here to talk about, kind of general philosophy and what I think about things. And now thousands of people are asking me to help guide them in their lives. I'm definitely not prepared for that.
Yeah.
And so do I understand that can become super emotional for a person, that a person can become kind of lost in their feelings and this and that. Whereas the Tate phenomenon was a bit different. With Andrew Tate focused on, bare knuckle fighting, controlling emotions, masculinity, this and that, but he didn't have a greater message past the kind of sense of self, which Peterson does. And so I understand why that could be kind of a collapsing moment where the guy breaks down on stream. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. Like Peterson was crying on, like for example, Piers Morgan's channel. Like, dude, Andrew, you're a rising star. Would you ever see yourself crying on camera?
No, but I have a different. But listen, I have an entirely different aspect worldview in history than Peterson does.
Yes, Andrew would cry if you made him eat pineapples on a pizza. Okay?
Yeah, that's true. I would
he
cry.
Would.
Yeah,
And
look, I would cry about that. That's
camera.
true.
Yeah,
that's true. I would cry about that.
Peterson crying, to be honest.
Well, hold on.
Well, I think to his point, there is a problem with that. Is that when you're moving into masculinity, there is a problem with that. Yeah, of course. But the thing is like, let me ask you this: if you had a really close personal friend of yours,
right,
who suddenly was kind of thrown into the spotlight, where tens of thousands of people were hanging on every word. He could say one wrong move and destroy people's lives. And the immensity of that got to them to the point where they kind of broke down publicly when somebody showed any sort of understanding for that. Would you even blame them, really?
I wouldn't blame them, Andrew, but at the same time, like he has his boys, right? He has his family, he has people to talk to outside of just the fame, Andrew. He has his family, he has people to talk to outside of just the fame, Andrew. So
who does he have? His daughter kind of capitalized on his claim to fame.
Yes, she did.
Right?
She did capitalize a lot. Yeah, she did. And that was a problem with Michaela, because Michaela, the only reason we know her name is because of her father, Andrew. But outside of that,
that's my point. But I mean, that's my point, right? Is that who really, you're not, unless you're in that situation, it's hard for you to ascertain this. You think you know what you would do.
Right.
It's harder to know until you're in that situation what you will do. So I give kind of a lot of rope to Peterson, because I understand what it is that he's dealing with at the scale he's dealing with it at. And it's tough. Now, do I think that he shouldn't be a bitch and he shouldn't cry? Of course. But the thing is that, can I understand that if you feel the weight of so much responsibility on your shoulders that comes to you so quickly, that can make a person drug themselves or, even cry or become super emotional? Yeah, of course. I understand that. But ultimately, I'm looking at what is the force on society. Is it moving people more towards a Christian ethical message? I think it is.
With Peterson, right? You're saying with Peterson,
yeah. Despite the failures of breaking down on screen, this type of thing, I still think ultimately it's a more appealing message than not to move people towards Christian ethics.
Andrew, can I ask you, is Andrew Tate's message, is that appealing towards some type of God aspect, to find God when it comes to Andrew Tate?
No.
Or is it not even close?
No. Well, Andrew Tate, the Tate phenomenon.
You're God, you are the God.
Well, no, I don't know about that, but I think that his message revolves around descriptors of what is,
right,
and that we've lost sight of what is descriptive reality, and that men have an ontology and women have an ontology, and that male ontology should not be kind of beaten down or presented as something that it's not.
Wouldn't
we know what we are
closer to God, though? Wouldn't that be a message getting men, at least men, closer to God with his message?
Well, sure,
I know he's a Muslim,
sure, but let us try to reconcile these two concepts. Okay. Concept one: does God use all things which are evil for good?
Well, God uses all things for the good.
Yeah. So the question is, not even all things.
Evil?
Does God use what is evil for the purpose of good? Let's try that.
Andrew, would that be necessary? Would that be necessary evil? Like, for example, slavery. Slavery is evil, but it built the country to a particular degree.
So wouldn't that make my point? Can God use what is evil for the purpose of what is good?
Yeah, of course.
So I think if that is the answer, that just because the entailment of the Tate phenomenon is that it could bring some people closer to God,
right?
That doesn't mean that that's what his purpose is. Perhaps that's what God's purpose is.
Okay.
Andrew, does it ever scare you with your channel just kind of blowing up in the internet that you're gonna have more targets?
No, I mean, the truth is that there's not really much to find. And the thing is I'm always going to have a target on my back. There's nothing you can do about it if you're a public persona, having to deal with criticism, which many times you can't even address. You have what's called a right to response. I'm just kind of okay with that. I think that ultimately people are going to make their decisions based on your logical arguments, your rhetoric, and everything in between. I'm going to have critics, and there's not a lot I can do about that. What I can control, though, is I do get critics who become very grumpy or very upset, who say that, in fact, they just got a DM tonight from a guy who said, "I want you to schedule this debate for such and such time." And I'm like, well, that's nice. Now you've just lost your opportunity to debate with me altogether. Yeah. There's other people in line, and I'm going to get all of them through on the Crucible. And I don't care if you're a no name or some name or whatever in between. If you're patient, I'm going to get you on. Like, I'm just going to do that for you. But what'll lose you that is when you make kind of these endless demands of, well, I want it now. It's like, well, that's nice. And well, now you'll disappear into the same obscurity you came from. Whereas I was happy to platform you before. All you have to do is just relax and understand that I have a schedule to keep, and many other commitments with many other people. So it's kind of interesting how that works. But one thing that I do that I think most people do not is I do take on my critics directly, and let's duke it out, let's fight it out. And I think most people do not do that.
And Andrew, you not only take on your critics, you take on people that actually follow you. Because when I first messaged you, I said, "Hey Andrew, can I get an interview with you?" The very next day you said, "Okay, yeah, show up at this time, XYZ." You did the Crucible TikTok invasion, and you platformed me, bro, right away.
Sure.
Like within the next day, bro. You contacted me so quickly. I was kind of unprepared about it. I was like,
well, I always try. The thing is that so think of it from my perspective. I have hundreds and hundreds of people want to be platformed on the Crucible. So I have a team who tries to sift through this and go, okay, this is serious. This is not serious. This guy's a fucking joke. This guy's, this type of thing.
Right.
But ultimately, what my instruction to them is like, I want to engage with all of them. Okay, well, Andrew, you can't engage with them all. Yeah, I think I can. So how do we do that? So then they come back and they go, well, then you're going to have to squeeze them in here. You're going to have to squeeze them in there. You're going to have to squeeze them in wherever you can.
Of course.
And that's fine, right? That's fair. That's fair. I can't derail a day's worth of content.
Yes.
In order to accommodate whatever the fuck it is you want to talk about. But that doesn't mean I can't get you in while that content's going on, right?
Sure. Andrew, here's the thing. You went on tour with Fresh and Fit and whatever. You just got back. And I said, Andrew, can I get an interview? You said, yeah, tomorrow, this time, show up. Like you did.
Yeah, but you also had a better attitude.
Oh, that's
so the thing is like, I always try to remember attitude too. Like if you contact and say, hey, I'd like to do a debate or I'd like to do an interview. Right. When is it good for you? I'll make time because this is important to me. Right. Well, that's a big green light for me, right? Because then I can look at the entire schedule and go, oh man, I can get you in right here, or we can get you in right here. And it's like, I want people to be able to engage with their criticisms or praise, whichever way. But it's unrealistic to think that I can just drop everything that I have going on at all times in order to accommodate somebody else's schedule. That's ridiculous.
Of course. Yeah. Well, that's what confused me, Andrew, because you did it so quickly for me. And I was thinking like, I was kind of unprepared. I'm not gonna lie. I literally did the research to get questions for you for that interview right away, but you did it right away. So I was thinking like, okay, it was because of the attitude. You were thinking, okay, let's just shoot this guy out, get him out of the way, and then carry on with your schedule.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. The idea was, well, let's get you through. You wanted to come through.
Yeah.
How can we find a spot for you? We can find a spot for you here. Yeah. My team emails me back and they're like, okay, we can schedule him in right here. Yeah. And so that's what we do. But the thing is that we have, and by the way, almost no other platform of the same size does that. Almost no other platform at all. To his credit, Destiny does. To his credit, Destiny does do that. Yeah. And I'll never take credit away from him in the fact that he's always willing to promote a smaller creator and deal with their criticisms and, kind of launch into those things. I'll never take that away from the guy because he does do that.
Andrew, you're a really great inspiration on that because, when I, as I've started to grow, I make sure that anybody that comes on the, this channel, I have the mods spam their channel when they're in the chat, even if they're just in the chat. If they've been on before and they show up in the chat, I have the mods spam their channel so that people go, that are coming here, go there. And all of that. I really believe in, you've helped me, and I'm going to help anybody that comes along as well. I really appreciate you popping in tonight, man. It's been great. I know that you're really pressed for time.
Well,
so
I have.
anytime you
So
spare
I'm
me-
just gonna. I'm just gonna tell you. Like, I have some decompression channels, right? So, like
Yeah.
Glenn's a good pal of mine. Glenn has a channel where what I consider a decompression channel, where I can go on and I don't have to worry so much about this or that. I can just kind of decompress and we can
Yeah.
shoot the shit.
just chill out.
This is kind of one of those channels too. That kind of thing. That's my own guilty pleasure. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
great, man.
It is.
I'm glad to.
Not gonna lie. Like,
I'm just right there. Made my day. I am Andrew's guilty pleasure. I feel
Right,
like a mistress.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
but
it.
it is. It's
Now
just
Andrew's glazing.
it's a good way for me to decompress, right?
Yeah.
And not have
I think Andrew's simping
so,
for you.
a bit. Perhaps there's a bit of simping, but anyway, the point is that I do enjoy that. I do enjoy. Remember, I started from the bottom, dude. There was no big, massive like media break that broke me out. Nothing like that. I started from the bottom and fought my way to the top. So, and still fighting it. And it's not going to change anytime soon. So, like, small channels starting out, dude, I know the pains. Believe me. I wish there was an infrastructure like the Crucible that I could have relied on that would have helped drive traffic.
Well, it's been awesome.
And would have drove show promotion and would have helped everybody out.
Yeah.
That would have been a huge shortcut that would have massively assisted the channel. But honestly, the only other person I can think of who does that besides me is Destiny, much to his credit.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I have a so this thing with the based Oracle, is that still happening in the few weeks, or is that
my understanding is that that's set for the 28th.
Okay, great.
If he doesn't show up on
travel plans, I've been invited by you.
If he doesn't show up on the 28th, then that's on him. But
as far as I know, there has been no change.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has not told me anything about the change in it. I'm actually looking at tickets right now for travel. No, Andrew, you did say he had to cover my costs, right? That's part of the agreement, right?
That was part of the agreement, correct?
Gotta make sure.
So let's go through the agreement, right? An agreement made in pride for a fool is that I front nothing. You have a studio external to Andrew Wilson's studio. You pay him $1,000 beforehand. If you want a moderator, you have to take care of the cost of that.
Right.
Welcome to my world, asshole.
Andrew, can I say something?
It wins.
That's a real simp.
Andrew, can I say something real quick?
Shut up, you fuck. Shut your fucking mouth.
I just want to admit something real quick. Fuck me, bro. Fuck me. But Andrew, I just want to say something really quick, bro.
Nothing is really quick with you, Jake.
I just need to admit to Andrew, the fact is, actually, Glenn, you were on the when we did the Project VeoPod stream. Base Oracle showed up. I did tell Base that I want to do an interview with him because I don't understand the whole beef thing. From my understanding, based off of what I've seen with the streams, he talked shit to Grid, which I was kind of like, I wanted to kind of push that out to him. From what I understand, he's criticizing you as, he's a grifter, whatever the case is. And I said, okay.
Andrew is the grifter. Yeah.
Yes, of course. So here's the thing. I invited Base Oracle and I asked him on that stream, I said, hey man, can I get a exclusive interview with you to kind of tell your whole story about the Andrew Wilson drama? That's basically going to be the main thing. And he agreed to it. He agreed. And I messaged him today to set up that interview. So it's kind of set, it's set in stone before the debate. I don't know Base. I don't know his history with you, Andrew, but I did more or less to kind of take advantage of that aspect to kind of get that interview with him. I'm just saying,
Jake, you're the fucking grifter. You're grifting off of drama.
No, dude, I'm just so curious. I brought him on. I want to bring him on to kind of have that aspect, but it's nothing to where I'm not talking shit about Andrew. It's nothing of that nature. We're gonna be interviewing him based off of whatever it is. I don't know the full story, Andrew. So for me, it's like obviously I don't have access to Andrew the same way. Like Base Oracle is a lot smaller, so he can come on and tell that full story. So that's my perspective, but that is a future show for my channel, Andrew. I'm just letting you know.
So
For what?
you don't listen. You don't owe me any loyalty.
Well, I kind of do, Andrew. I kind of do.
You don't. You know. Listen. You don't. The thing is that I've never judged people or attack people based on the fact that they platform others who might come on and talk or discuss or this type of thing, unless it's like an obvious setup. If it's an obvious setup, that's a different thing. And but you can tell you can tell the distinction between the two. Yeah. And you don't owe me anything, man. If you want to have some guy on and do an interview because you want to get to the heart of something, you don't have to think about how Andrew Wilson will feel because for the most part, bro, I don't care. Okay. Like, honestly, I don't fucking care. It's not important to me. There's a big difference between, as you know, a backbiter or a knifer, and somebody who's just trying to get to the heart of something which is going on. There's a huge distinction between the two. Okay. And I'm not insane, right? So because I'm not insane, it's pretty easy for me to delineate between the two. Okay. And if you wanna bring on Base Oracle to get his side of whatever his beef is, I don't give a flying fuck. Okay, that was my case here, bro. Like I'm bringing him on just to kind of like get his air out on that prior before the debate. Yeah, that's your business, man. That's not my business. But at the end of the day, don't think that I'm trying to do anything. Backbite? Yeah, dude, I mean, you do realize the distinction between that rational men can make a distinction between what is backbiting and what is not, right? Yeah, for sure. And that nobody's ever going to send me just a clip and go, oh, here's a clip of this. They try to do it with Rolo. They try to do it with Myron. They try to do it with everybody on planet Earth. Right. To say, here's an out of context snippet. Now go to war with them. And I'm like, shut up, you fucking retard. Obviously, I'm going to look at the whole situation, and you're not going to be able to troll me into a conflict. There's tons of people who enjoy doing that, and they'll DM me with all sorts of things out of context, and only a fool falls for that. So just don't be a fool, you know? Oh, fair enough. So I'm just letting you know on that. By the way, the chat that's going on, they're saying, oh, Jake is, nobody cares, Jake. Like, Andrew's, like, good. Well, fuck you guys. I'm just fucking running to buy Andrew. That's all I'm fucking doing. So fuck you, motherfuckers. That's all it is. That's all. Have you had a little bit to drink tonight, Jake? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Okay. A little bit. Yeah, just chill out, bro. You're all good. You know what I mean? It's okay to have a little bit to drink from time to time, but yeah, a little bit on the perhaps schnockered side there, son. Fair enough.
Hey guys, before you wrap up, can I ask one question to Andrew before I go to bed?
No, you piece of shit.
Please.
Yeah, no, it's fine, man. Go ahead.
Okay, Andrew. You may have recalled we had one little encounter on VK about like libertarians and shit. It was pretty silly. I'm IFI, by the way.
Yeah, I know who you are.
I have one question for you, Andrew. I don't want to open a can of worms. I just want to offer the olive branch of invitation. I just watched your exchange with Dave Smith, and here's my parting thoughts on that. I think both of you guys have very good, valid points. I wish I could have been in the room with both of you at the same time. Here's my thoughts. I think there's a bridge between conservatives and libertarians.
There always has been. But remember that I've made this same point to you.
I know. I want to offer me as the bridge. I don't think Dave Smith properly addressed it. I don't think Andrew Wilson was properly prepared for it. I am the bridge between conservatives and libertarians. So if you are...
No, you're not. No, you're not, dude. Come on.
Andrew.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. What a stupid assertion. No, you're not.
Andrew, just listen. And if you disagree, that's fine. I'll leave and I won't bother you ever again. If you're interested in the discussion about whether or not it's physically possible for conservatives and libertarians to agree on politics, I would like to have that conversation.
Yeah, but where has that been a dispute?
Between you and Jacob, between you and Dave
No,
Smith, and
no.
between
There's
you
the
and me.
distinction. The distinction has never been about whether or not conservatives and libertarians can agree on politics. The distinction is whether or not the foundational axioms of libertarianism comport with the foundational axioms of Christianity. That's the argument.
That's the conversation I want to have with you, Andrew. I don't want to debate with you. I want to talk to you if you're willing to have that discussion. Yes,
yeah, but how do you have that discussion with a person if they don't even get the axioms about it right? You said that you would act as a bridge between conservatism politically and libertarianism politically.
Yes.
But that's not the dispute. What's the dispute?
Andrew, you've had the debate, and we played on VK about the debate. I don't want to debate with you right now. I want to have a conversation.
Then just tell me what the dispute is.
Okay. Without getting into the debate, I'm proposing that it is physically possible for conservatives and libertarians to sit together and have a intelligent discussion about how we can save this country.
Then what are we even conversing about? Because there's no adversarial take there. I agree.
Andrew, we're talking about that you and I already agree that conservatives agree that Jesus is the answer. Do you agree with that so far?
No.
You don't follow Jesus.
That's not what I said. What did I say?
No. As a conservative, no politics, just religion. Do you agree that Jesus is the way, the path?
I do. Yes, but that doesn't mean conservatives do.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Andrew. I agree that Jesus is the way. Now, politically speaking, is it possible that conservatives don't have the best answer and that libertarians might have a good answer, but Dave Smith did not give the answer that you were looking for? Do you agree?
Sure, of course that's possible.
Okay. Now listen, is it possible that you and I can have a conversation as Christians to each other about politics concerning whether or not libertarian is even on the table for discussion? Yes or no?
Of course. Yeah, everything. So here's the thing. When you're talking about logical possibility, Superman's logically possible, just so you know.
Okay. I don't want to get too deep into the philosophical, abstract. I want to talk practically speaking, real world in America today. Do you think that's an option?
No.
Okay. So if you're willing to have the discussion with me, I'm not going to debate you. I'm not going to say you're wrong, authoritarians suck. I'm just going to say I'm going to offer my ideas, and you tell me where I'm wrong. Would you?
He doesn't want to
have
debate
that
you, Andrew. That's the thing. He doesn't want to debate you on it.
I don't want to debate you. I just want to discuss it. I want to have a discussion.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you?
It could be, but let me ask a couple of qualifiers since I've been gracious and answered all of your yes or no's.
Yes.
Let us assume in the course of this discussion I disagree with you.
Yes.
How can I disagree with you and you disagree with me without us arguing?
It's okay, Andrew. I don't care if we actually do start arguing. I just don't want you to feel like we have to settle it by the end of the discussion, like who won the debate or whatever. I don't care about that.
But I need to let you know.
Me, that's fine. I don't care.
But I need to let you know just up front, and perhaps this is highly good faith, right? And I'm just going to assume it is.
Yes.
But often a disarming tactic by leftists is to say to me, please come on and have a discussion with me, which is not a debate. In secret, hang on, stop, let me finish.
I agree.
When in secret, they're actually preparing for a debate and they use the discussion as a disarming mechanism so that I don't prepare because I think it's just a discussion.
No.
So as long as you understand that I'll prepare for whatever the discussion is, assuming that you're going to have the same bad faith tactics, doesn't mean I think you are, just means always prepare for the worst.
Andrew, at any moment you feel like I'm deceiving you or trying to trick you or trap you or anything like that.
Right now?
I think you should immediately end the discussion and I won't bother you ever again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but just so you know, other than a call-in section, unless you have your face on a camera, I'm not going to engage in a large-scale discussion. It's not going to happen.
Andrew, I'm sorry. I don't ever show my face for personal reasons.
Well, then so then the thing is that I'm disadvantaged and you're advantaged.
No.
That's true.
I have a YouTube channel. I have people you can vouch. Grid1 can vouch for me.
Well, hold on.
to him
If you have a
before.
YouTube
I'm
channel,
not-
why not show your face? You have a YouTube channel.
Because I talk about very sensitive political topics, which might get me in trouble with the government.
Do you show your
Let me
face
ask
on the
you.
YouTube
Let me
channel?
ask you a question. How do I know that I'm debating with you and not a room full of people?
That's
You don't. So you
You
just have to
don't.
give me your faith on that one.
Yeah, no. The thing is that if you want to come in for a call-in section on the Crucible, you're welcome to.
I tried,
even
but
call
remember I couldn't sign up
even
for
call-ins. Well, I'm not even talking about the site. I'm just talking on YouTube. Even for various call-in sections of different shows that I do, you're welcome to call in. But unless you put your face to the voice, and I can see you and can see who I'm talking to, discussing with, or arguing with, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't have very much interest.
That's fine. I understand you feel like I'm a fraud or a grifter or fake.
No, I didn't say any of that. You just made all of that up. Didn't say any of
why is
that.
my face
You absolutely have a right to your own anonymity, right? Your own anonymous status. You have a total and complete, right to do that if you want to. But that doesn't mean that I have to humor it.
I understand, Andrew. I'm not questioning your integrity or anything like that. And I agree that it sounds like I'm hiding as an anonymous person on the YouTube. Just respect my words. Don't worry about who I am. Don't worry about who I represent or who I'm with. If I say,
then why do you want to discuss anything? Then why do you want to discuss anything with me except that you know who I am?
Because I think that you are one of the very prominent positions on the. I agree with your religious views. I agree with your cultural views.
Mm-hmm.
It's just your politics I disagree with. I think that
yeah,
you and
right.
Dave,
But unless you put your face to the end of what the political spectrum is, and you're willing to actually stand behind it to take the same risk that I am, why should I include you?
because I'm not that invested in the panel sphere as far as YouTube is concerned. I'm not that interested in fame or recognition.
Yeah.
So hopefully my words is all that matters. So it doesn't matter who I am or what I look like or where I come from. If you agree with my words or disagree with my words, that should be all that matters.
No, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to take the hard no on this one, man. I appreciate the interest, but you're going to have to take the hard no.
Okay, Andrew. So for one final pitch, I'm proposing the idea of conservatarianism, which is when conservatives learn a lesson from libertarians and libertarians learn a lesson from conservatives. The problem why you and Andrew and Dave Smith could not agree is that he's too far in the libertarian camp and you're too far in the conservatarian camp. And I think there is a bridge, but since you don't want to talk to a seashell, I understand, and I will not waste any more of y'all's time. It's my past my bedtime,
okay,
and
bye.
I enjoyed the chat. Thanks.
Well, have a good evening, man. Thanks for the inquiry.
Yep. Thanks for dropping by, Phil.
Yeah.
Before we dive back into some other stuff here, Clover Tack sent in $5 and said,
Clover Tack, that's my buddy over there on YouTube. He talks about guns. He's great.
He's a big gun guy. Yeah, he's a big
guy.
gun
He's
guy.
fucking great.
Yeah,
I always enjoy that guy. I enjoy talking to him. And Clover Tack, reach out to me. We'll do some more future specials with you, dude. That was a ton of fun.
Yes,
I was just on his show and he was on my show, so we've actually.
Yeah, I know. I watched it.
Did you really?
I was in the car. I was listening to it. It was great.
Oh, great.
I always decompression, right?
Yeah,
yeah. Awesome,
there's a couple of old boys talking about guns and nonsense. I'm like, this is fucking great.
yeah, perfect. Clover Tack, who apparently has had maybe one too many whiskeys tonight, says, I have so many cool new people. I think he meant friends. Since Andrew has agreed to come on my podcast, it's awesome. And hey, Grid, change your cam now and again, bro. I did just for you. I may change it back a little later.
Yeah, but see, Clover Tack, who's an actual human being.
Yes.
Even when he contacted me, it was the same thing. He was like, when can I get in? I think I told him like 3 weeks. I said, I think I'm like 3 weeks out. He said, no problem, bro. I understand you have a schedule to keep. Get back to me when you can. So the staff went through it. Okay, Andrew, we can get him in on this date. Great. So we slated him. We did the entire thing. But it was because he was patient. Like he didn't make the demand, change your whole schedule around to accommodate my criticisms, Andrew. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. I have plenty other things to do. If playing Mass Effect this evening is way funner than dealing with somebody who makes an endless demand on your time, fuck you. Go to hell. But he wasn't like that. He just said, he followed up multiple times. I said, just remind me. We're going to get you in. Just remind me. And he did. And so we were able to get that to happen. But it's just like, some people are just, they're fucking ridiculous with their expectation. And it's because from their perspective, they're one person talking to me and there's no external demands other than that. From my perspective, they're one of hundreds of people DMing me. And so I'm like, that. You know what I mean? So it's a harder line to sift through. And so I'm like, I still want everybody to come through. I still respond to all DMs, but just give me some time. Don't be fucking ridiculous.
Yes.
You know what's interesting?
I had 11 flakes on Wednesday. That was great.
The interesting thing, Andrew, is I think it's been 2 months now that you and I talked about either like doing an interview. You and I are sitting down and just talking, and we've never done it because you'll pop in here and I'll go do the questions on your channel, and I know that you're really busy. And to be honest with you, I don't have anything to debate. It would just literally be a bullshit session between the two of us. And you know what though?
That's fine. But listen, bro, that's fine too. I love those. Those are my favorite. It's just like all we need is an extension of a little bit of charitability. That I have tons and tons of shit which is scheduled, demands on my time between family and the things that I have scheduled. I want to meet all of those obligations to everybody. And so I'm just like, look, you are reaching out to me because you want to talk to me. That's fine. But just have a reasonable expectation of time management.
Sure.
And there's many people who just don't they froth at the fucking mouth. I waited 3 weeks. So wait another 3 weeks. So what? You're going to get through. You're going to get through. Just be patient, you know? But,
I just feel like you have way more important things. You have way more important people to talk to than
that's nonsense. What's important? What's important, bro? What's important? What's important is community building. What's important is community building. What's important is community building. What's important is building the infrastructure so more people can deal, or more people can participate, right? And so that's why we have built this massive infrastructure people can participate in. We let them advertise their stuff, whatever they want. I've had many people try to advertise on the YouTube. I turn it down. That way we can keep the show length on debates to roughly 3 hours without these kind of ad rolls and annoying shit that people have to deal with. I would rather take that time, as limited as it might seem. 15 or 20 minutes is a lot of fucking time.
It is.
It's a lot of time in a block of show. So if I'm like, dude, you got 25 minutes on this block, let's do it. You know what I mean? It gives you the exposure that you've wanted, which is to have, access to, fucking just thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. I'm happy to let you get your message out. All I'm asking is just this tiny bit of understanding for patience. That's it.
Yeah.
So Arthrodia has been asking me a couple of times now in the chat. Arthrodia has been on my show a couple of times. She's actually really a pretty based person. And she was wondering if you could define a Christian populist for her.
Yeah, it would be synonymous. It would be synonymous with essentially what you would perhaps consider a Christian nationalist. And I say perhaps as the caveat because I'm not sure exactly what you would consider that to be. But what it would be is a synergistic blending of Christianity and the state, understanding that the state can glean its morals from Christianity, and that it probably should. That there's actually no problem with Christians being in power. That's not problematic. And the only people who claim that it is are secularists who then demand that you, via your moral standard, never take power. That way they can perpetually be in power. And fuck that. That's bullshit. It's nonsense. It's always been nonsense. And so it's a push for Christians to understand that it's okay for them to also be in power positions, and they should be.
Okay.
Andrew, I kind of have a question real quick because obviously you're a debater. I just want to ask, like, the last caller that came in, you said you wouldn't give so much time on somebody that wouldn't show their self on camera. From a debating perspective, wouldn't you say that somebody that doesn't show themselves on camera has an advantage when it comes to debates?
Massive advantage.
Massive.
You could be debating. You could be debating a room. You could be watching them. You could be watching them pull up various things.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that they can fry the entire debate without anybody holding them to account. So what's to stop them in the middle of the debate from just screaming out the N-word 15 times?
Yes. Yeah.
And there's zero accountability which can be held to them for doing that. So what they're essentially asking is, will you please take all this risk for me?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Definitely not.
No,
Andrew,
I won't.
Andrew, let me ask you another one. When it comes to actually like debating somebody, like let's say, for example, wouldn't you say that when it comes to debate, like reading body language is actually important during a debate?
Yeah, I actually brought this up in our conversation together. So one of the ways in which, if you're a boxer, there's a reason there's no blind boxers, and it's because you want to read the body language of the person who's attacking you. Same thing in MMA. Show me the blind MMA fighter. I want to see him. I don't think he exists.
I can show you two, and it was fucking hilarious watching them fight.
Did they get beat?
Yeah, it's funny though. It's like
right.
Hilarious.
So, but that's my whole point, right? Is that the reason that the blind don't engage in contact sports is because they can't see, because body language is as much a part. Reading what the other person's doing, how they're feeling, which points they're making that they're not sure of.
Right.
All of that is a perspective of body language and reading a person. It's as important in regular judo as it is in verbal judo.
Yes.
That's why that policy exists, is because they have a massive advantage where they really shouldn't. They shouldn't have that massive advantage.
That's 100% true. Andrew, you're totally right on that. Like, I want to get on Speakeasy's like verbal combat. But I would say this: a lot of them don't have cameras, bro. And I would say that they're at an advantage. I'm going to put my camera on me, but they have the advantage when it comes to debate tactics. Like they can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, you can't read their body language in order to establish.
Well, that's why it's always been a policy on the Crucible that, other than the call-in section, which even in the call-in section, you have to demonstrate there's a person behind the camera.
Right.
But other than that, you don't ever see debates on the Crucible where it's not your face, your everything. Right. And people will criticize that and say, I just want people to face docs. No. I want the sport of this thing to be fair.
Yes.
And it gives you an unfair advantage. So fuck off with that.
Yes, Andrew, so fucking true, bro. Thank you for saying that, because that was one of the questions that I had for you that, I mean, I've been wanting to ask today. But yeah, go on. Thank you for that.
So it's Andrew, I don't have that as a strong policy, but I much prefer it. Yes. When people have their cameras on.
Sometimes the thing is that people run all sorts of different kinds of shows. In panel shows, it may behoove you to not have the face with the voice. But if you're running legitimate debates where it's two people's ideologies against, they're adversarial in nature, you don't want to provide weighted gloves to one side. You see what I'm saying? You want it to be fair across the board. If you are standing behind what you're saying with your face and your name and your worldview, they need to do the same. That's one. That's our first equal starting point. And then if you move on to the second points, there's all sorts of unfair advantages a person could have if they're debating behind an anonymous caricature. rather than themselves, which could include you debating with a room of people, or you debating with 3 people, or or this guy is literally has books in front of him and he's reading those books in real time while you're debating him, and you could never see that he didn't actually know what the fuck he was talking about.
Yeah.
There's tons and tons of advantages which come with hiding behind kind of the anon profile. And so I've never thought that that was fair. It's always been the official policy of the Crucible. If you're debating, you have to have a camera, you have to have a microphone, you have to be willing to stand behind what it is that you're saying. Now, many people don't like that, but fuck them. It's not their show. It's my show.
Yes. Andrew, wouldn't you say that Destiny, for example, like he kind of has like his own crew that kind of super chats him or like chats there. He kind of looks up facts during debates when it comes to his channel. Is that something there? Like it's something.
Yeah, of course. A person who has a giant live stream chat can always reference the chat for data. The reason specifically I use StreamYard, because we do have a large chat. I think tonight we had over 7,000 live,
7,000 people that were watching.
Well, I think it was over that even. And then on the alt networks, it'll probably be millions of people who tune into this debate. But the point is that the reason I use StreamYard, and I've always done it this way, that people can then click the chat tab. They can also see the same chat. So if people are feeding me information or they're putting up links or things like that, you can see it and call it out in real time.
Yes.
Like that's, you know what I mean? That also keeps it fair. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. And you do realize like Destiny kind of does those, because I've seen Destiny, like his debates, he's always kind of like on his computer and doing like Google searches from his chat in real time. It kind of feels unfair to me, but at the end of the day, like he is a good debater. Don't get me wrong. Like he's skilled, but
he's a good rhetorician, but he's not a guy who really dives into. So I'm willing to bite bullets to go down kind of avenues where I could be wrong. And kind of my hope in that is that I am wrong so I can adjust my worldview. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just I kind of move into the simple yes, no. And then when they go, got you, I go, well, not really, because the logical extension of this doesn't show what you're trying to prove. But I'm always trying to do that. Rob Noor is another one who's like that. They'll just answer yes, no. Destiny doesn't do that. What Destiny does is he kind of leans on obfuscation and says, let's give you this grandiose explanation, which really doesn't get to anything. And that was kind of the Smith tactic tonight, too. It is really funny when people say, you holding him to account for his worldview is bad faith, but him refusing to answer questions is not.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
Massive amounts of word salad is, I believe, what I said earlier. Somebody from the chat.
But that's how. I mean, you just have to understand that there's a lot of that's how the game is played, right? If you don't want to answer a question, you obfuscate with kind of these elongated, long-winded things. Kind of one of the things that makes me famous in this debate sphere is that I don't let you do that. I'll just bring it right back and go, okay, that's nice. That's all nice that you said all that. Can you now answer my fucking question that I asked you 5 times?
Dude,
I love that.
I love it too. I love it too, bro. Hell yeah. And
you can't let them off the hook.
Yeah,
you can't let them off the hook.
You don't let them do that, bro. You're kind of like Jesse Lee Peterson, where he's always asking the same question to make sure he gets the exact answer of what it is. You're kind of like that in a way. You don't let them off the hook of that.
Well, it's always the same thing. Well, I answered the question. Well, what was the answer? And then they change the answer.
Yes.
And then you go, well, okay, you're not really answering, kind of deflecting. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of that in the debate tonight, a lot of deflection.
Yes.
Whereas I actually took the more good faith position and tried to engage directly with yes, no, yes. And here's my qualifier. So after you answer yes or no, then you add the qualifier. But so often in discourse, people forget that they actually have to own the things that they say with an affirmative or a negative. And they need to lead where they lead.
Yeah.
So it's probably one of the most frustrating things to listen when you're debating is you're basically trying to pull teeth on when you're constantly asking them the same question.
Well, but understand that that's a tactic. I already answered this question. There's an echo.
Yeah, somebody's got an echo.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I got to wrap it up. It's 2:00 in the morning. I got to get some sleep. Yeah, but I appreciate you letting me on. It was very very kind of you. And you guys have a good night, huh?
Andrew,
yeah, man, absolutely.
Yes, thank you so much, Andrew. You're always welcome on Project VealPod. Just FYI.
You won't be drunk. You won't be drunk next time.
No, I'll be drunk the next time. That's for damn
sure.
sure.
Okay. Well, then that's the only reason I'll come on then. All right, man. Sounds good. I'll talk to you guys. Have a good night.